Welcome everybody to the Jake Feinberg Show. Happy Saturday afternoon, and we continue this week on my journey through the lives of my jazz heroes. And my guest this week is a bass player, Henry Franklin, known as the Skipper. Henry's been active in jazz music since his childhood, when his father was the head of a big band and had Henry tap dancing at a very early age. And after touring with many instruments, Henry settled on the bass, and there are many people that are glad he did, as he's been mesmerizing audiences with his versatile playing ever since. He's played straight jazz and Latin jazz and African soul jazz, and he's worked with legends like Woody Shaw and Michael Howell, Hampton Hawes, Harold Land. He made 2 of his own albums on Gene Russell's Black Jazz label in the early 1970s, as well as one for the small but heady Catalyst label. These days, he keeps the beat at the historic Mission Inn in Riverside, California, and he has a new CD out, which we were just listening to as a leader from November of last year, called The Soul of the World. It's now available for sale. It's my pleasure to welcome Henry Franklin of the Jake Feinberg Show.
Jake, how you doing, man?
It's great to talk to you, my friend.
Thank you. That's quite an introduction.
Well, you deserve it, and it's my job today to highlight, because you've been instrumental in my artistic life, and I'll get into that in a little while. But Henry, I wanted to start off. The intro piece was a song off "Soul of the World," which is available now for sale. It's entitled "Swalla."
Right.
And it was written by Theo Saunders.
And, right, our pianist, yes.
A great piano player. And I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about the album, and if you would talk specifically about the meaning of the title.
Soul of the World is actually, that was a phrase taken from the book called The Amicus. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Right.
And he was talking about the soul of the world, which is everything in the world has a soul, a beat. Everything has a rhythm to it. Everything is here for a reason to help the other parts create this rhythm, and everything fits like a jigsaw puzzle. So the music, in my estimation, of course, is right at top, which to my way of thinking and to my belief, the music is the soul of the world, because the music is the beat, the heartbeat, the rhythm, the mathematics, the ultimate of the world. Especially around my world. It's based around my world also as the ultimate soul of the world.
Did it have anything to do, it was a very multi-ethnic makeup of the band. I wasn't sure if that played a role in the title as well.
No, not at all, no. So,
and as far as you're concerned, the art, everybody walked away extremely satisfied. I mean, I'll tell you, I've been listening to it since you sent it to me, and it's versatile, and it has a lot of original tunes. You do a couple of covers, but it's expansive, and there's a richness to it. It almost goes to the core, is the only way I can describe it.
Well, we appreciate that. We put a lot of time in it and a lot of thinking, and trying to figure it out like we do all our music, and just seemed like it just kind of came together.
And I think go ahead.
Yeah, with Theo's writing and my writing on there, and and the cover tunes that we did choose, seems like they fit right in, and it seems like it worked out pretty well.
I say so. Henry, it's been hard to contain my excitement. I've had several interviews with great guys, but I've been so looking forward to talking to you because how compelling your story has been. My first question is this. You grew up in Southern California with Carl Burnett, the great drummer, and Roy Ayers as well. And I just wanted to know what music you guys were getting off on in high school.
Well, we had a band called the Roy Ayers Latin Jazz Quintet. So it was based around tunes from we would play from Cal Jader's book. Roy was really in love with Cal Jader, and I guess we all admired the musicians in the band. It was Al McKibben in the band at that time, so he was, of course, one of my heroes. And on timbales, I guess, was Willie Bobo of Mongo Santa Maria. So the guys, they kind of patterned themselves after those great musicians. So, and at the same time, that was on the Latin side, but on the jazz side, we were just 18 and 19 and getting our feet wet listening to straight ahead jazz. We had our different heroes, like I guess Miles Davis at the time, Paul Chambers, and Wynton Kelly, and Philly Joe Jones. So we tried to combine the Latin with the jazz, and we did. Not on the same particular tunes, but we would play a couple of Latin tunes, and we'd play some jazz, and then go back and forth. And that's what we were into.
And then you explain a little bit. You didn't go to, was college or going on for an academic career ever a consideration, or did you went right into music?
No, I did one year at L.A. City College, and then I got a call from Willie Bobo at the time, who was living in New York, and he asked me to join his band. He'd heard us up in, I think we were in San Francisco. Yeah, we were in San Francisco at the Jazz Workshop for a weekend playing, and he came in and heard me playing the bass, and he said, "I'm going to call you, man. I'm going to call you." How they always say, and you never hear from
right,
the guy.
Sure.
But he did call me and sent me a ticket, so I said, "Okay, I'm out of here. I'm gone." And I did it, and with my family's blessings, I had 3 children, little babies. But my wife at the time, their mom said, "Go ahead and pursue your thing. Do your thing." So I moved to New York, and that was the end of my academic career, formal. And I stayed with Willie for about a year. And then, it just kept on going from there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had no idea you had 3 children at that early in age in your life. And
Yep.
Do you, on a personal side, do you have good relationships with them today?
Oh, sure. I got 48, 47, and 49 now.
They're all right in a row there.
Yep, and I got 7 grandkids and 2 great-granddaughters.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because your bass playing is full of love, so it doesn't surprise me that you're always surrounded by family, and that. So right. It's nice to. I like to paint the picture here, and I know everybody talks to you about, or I've seen you talk quite a bit about the classic Grazing in the Grass cut that you did with Hugh Masekela. Right. And in essence, you said overnight we went from taking taxis to limos, and right. And I actually wanted to ask you, looking back now, how did you handle that? How did that success affect you musically?
Oh man, at the age of 20, what was I, 24, 25, it was quite an experience. And I'm sure we all got a little big-headed. I'm sure we all got very big-headed,
Yes.
We were making a lot of money. We were traveling first class in the airplanes. It was quite an experience.
Walking into convenience stores or driving through Harlem, the song was just consistently on the radio.
It sure was, man. It was really a great feeling too. But we earned that, I'm sure, because just like any band that would be together and record a lot, that wasn't an instant hit. We had been together for a year and a half with a couple of records that didn't go anywhere. So, and we were working, but I'm just saying that this was just not an overnight thing, So we graduated up to it.
Yeah, actually, and when I was researching your background, I just had this impression that it happened right away, but it didn't. It took a long time to gel.
Took about a year and a half. Yeah, I would say a good year and a half, and then the hit came, and then that's when we moved up, and then after the hit died down, we went back to coach again. You know.
Well, it's true, and to be honest with you, Skip, I mean that tune has stood the test of time. That's an amazing contribution to our society when you have a song that continually through the decades continues to stand the test of time. I think it's fantastic, and anyway.
Isn't that amazing, man? You can still hear it every day on AM radio, man. It's unbelievable.
This is a perfect segue because what I believe they should be playing on AM radio is the stuff that you were doing in the early 70s. And I think this is interesting just as a little bit of background. You were playing on albums with Hampton Hawes and Michael Howe and Woody Shaw, among others. And the music that resonates with me, the reason that I started this mission, the reason I started going after and pursuing my idols was because the music there's an edginess to it, there's a dark quality to it. It's moody, but it's strong and it's vibrant, and I feel it all the way into my soul. And when I talked to you previously, I was like, I want to talk to you about that. I used the word funk jazz, and you said, I'll tell you, Jake, I'm not too big a fan of that. And I said, okay, let me explain to you what I'm talking about. And after I explained the music with Woody and Michael and Hamp Hawes and all the other stuff, you said, that was the searching period. Mm-hmm. And I want, if you can please just talk to my audience a little bit about the searching period. What did that mean?
Well, I think that I would say that Lee Morgan was one of the first people. Well, Herbie Hancock too. They opened the doors for commercial jazz hits. You know what I mean? Lee Morgan came out with the Sidewinder, which was completely different from anything that anybody had ever done. You know.
In what way?
Well, it was just putting some funk behind the backbeat behind the jazz. You know. And Herbie did that with his Watermelon Man, and then everybody started doing it, you know. So there was, and then Cannonball too, you know. So I think that's what I was talking about when I was saying searching. They was searching for not necessarily only money, which they were searching to try to make a better living. I think they were searching and just for other ways to play the music and still keep it pure and real.
I was going to say because
that's about the best way I think I can put it is just searching. Just searching. I mean, after 30, 40 years, you know, these guys got tired of playing just straight ahead bebop. I'm sure, you know.
Absolutely.
They were just looking for other ways to break it down, searching for it, and then we, as the younger guys at that time, we just followed suit, and we were searching also, trying to figure different ways to make it work.
I collect all the albums on vinyl, and one of the things that is noticeable to me is that, yes, you were trying to put food on the table for yourself, your family, but there was an emphasis on listening, and not that it hasn't gone away now, but there was really almost a creative response and a listening. It was really more about, to me, in listening to this stuff, it was experimental. When I look at the back of those liner notes and I see George Cable's wearing a top hat, or I see Woody Theus wearing a mask, or I see you, in some, you guys were not, this was not orchestrated. It wasn't in a bubble. It was real. Does that resonate?
Sure. Everybody was searching for their own individuality also, and with their music and their own apparel. I
wanted to, Henry, you don't know this yet, but now you will. the track that put me on this spiritual journey was a track called, well, and I just want you to listen to this track that I'm about to play. I'm going to play about 2.5 minutes of it. When I heard it and I kept listening to it and I said, this is my path. And I just like my audience to take a listen to Henry's bass playing, Benny Maupin's horn playing, and then Henry, when you come back, I don't know when was the last time you even listened to this track, but I'd like you to talk about it if that's possible, okay?
Sure.
Let's hit it. So anyway, that
Wow.
I listen to that, and my daughter and I listen to that in the car every day, man. I tell you, I still just take it away, please.
Well, I haven't heard that in. When was that recorded, man?
That was 1973, In the Silence, with Michael Howell and with yourself on bass, Benny Maupin, Kenneth Nash on percussion, Ndugu Chancellor on drums. To me, I'm speechless. I just want you to talk about it, please.
Well, first of all, I haven't heard that since 1973. Wow. Well, as I remember, we went in the studio and Michael gave us a sketch of what he wanted, and it was in 4/4 time, and I guess he just told us to improvise, and that's what we did.
In the fact that I've listened to it about 100 times and you haven't heard it, the amazing thing to me was it just seemed like there was such a relaxed atmosphere. There was people were allowed to have space and they were listening. You guys were really listening to each other, and I think on a sociological level and even on a political level these days in our society, we don't listen anymore. We've stopped listening to people. We've stopped having conversations. You guys were having a conversation that entire album, and that's what makes it so special. There was no ego.
Right. Well, I think that's you can give a lot of credit to the producer, Owen Keepness, or in Keep News. He just made the atmosphere relaxed. And,
What kind of stuff would he do?
well, he just said, "You guys got it." You know, I mean, he wouldn't give us any pressure. He wouldn't say, "I want to try to make a hit. I want to try to emulate this." He just said, "You know, this is Michael's date. You got it. Do it how you want to do it."
And Michael also, I mean, he's not a real egotistical guy himself, though.
No, he's not. He's not. He's a very, very humble guy. Nice guy too. I haven't seen him in years now.
Well, it's part of my quest here, Henry, is to reconvene my people, you know, and I want to, you know, I know you haven't seen some of these guys in a while, and I think that it's important to get back to that time. I did, you know, before we go to break here, I did want to ask you. It cracks us up, my friends. Woody Shaw did an album, Song of Songs, around the same period of time.
Okay.
It was a drummer, and his name. That, as far as I can tell, is Woody Theus, although on the album it's Woodrow Theus. And he's wearing a mask. I mean, he looks like something out of... who is Woodrow Theus? Because I think he played on your Tribal Dance album.
Yes, he did. Woodrow Theus, Woody Theus is Sonship. Does that ring a bell?
Sonship, yeah, but he goes by so many different names at this point.
Sonship Transcending. Sonship was very special. We just lost him about 3 weeks ago.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he just died. I went to his funeral 3 weeks ago. He was 59. But Sonship was very unique. He was, I guess, a follower of into the Sun Ra type of bag. And it was really funny. On that date with Woody Shaw, you know, Woody just came into town. Woody and George were in town with Art Blakey, so he called me and said he wanted to do a record. I said, "Yeah, of course." And he said,
"Henry, you know what? I want to save this story. I do not want to truncate it because we have to go to a break. So we have a lot more to get to with Henry Franklin, the skipper, great bass player, out of still doing his thing out of Southern California. So you hang tight. Come back. We're going to get into that story about Sonship and Woody Shaw. As we go to break, going to listen to a little bit more of Soul of the World, Henry's most recent album. All right?
All right.
We'll see you soon.
Now hear this.
Local talk at its best.
I'm not listening to you. You're crazy.
AM 1330 KJLL. South Tucson.
CNN Radio, I'm Stan Case. A tornado that ripped through the St. Louis airport and surrounding area Friday night packed winds of 166 miles per hour or higher.
This was the most powerful tornado to hit St. Louis since 1967.
That's St. Louis Mayor Francis Slay. Damage is extensive, with at least 750 homes damaged or destroyed. Officials hope to reopen the airport Sunday. President Obama used his weekly address to talk about the need for alternative energy sources. He says there's no easy solution to high gasoline prices. There was more violence in Syria Saturday. Witnesses say government security forces shot and killed 5 demonstrators in Damascus. They were among thousands mourning protesters killed on Friday. Reports from Yemen indicate President Ali Abdullah Saleh has agreed in principle to step down. Yemen's been the scene of ongoing anti-government protests. And Elton John, David and Victoria Beckham, and Guy Ritchie are among those invited to the royal wedding next week. This is CNN Radio.
Well, the economy is at it again. It's up, it's down, it's sideways. Frankly, it's confusing. At Advance Auto Parts, we're going to make things simple for you. Right now at Advance, we're offering you 5 quarts of Castrol GTX conventional motor oil plus a Fram Extra Guard oil filter for only $17.99. See store for details. We got the high quality supply, you get the money saving demand. That's economics everyone can appreciate. Advance Auto Parts. Service is our best part.
Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Can you find anything on the internet? Well, I'm sure you can, but don't take my word for it. Just ask this talking dog who can only say I love you. Roll the clip. One more time, talking dog.
For a free rate quote, visit geico.com to see how much you could save. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
If you've ever wanted to design your own ring, there's only one place to go.
That's Jared!
At Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry, it's easy to create a ring that's yours and yours alone. First, choose from hundreds of beautiful settings. Then select from thousands of certified diamonds, including the Peerless Diamond, the Ideal Cut Diamond, and the spectacular Leo Artisan, both exclusively at Jared.
It can only be Jared!
Find a Jared store or shop anytime at jared.com.
The Home Depot has the only interior paint rated #1 2 years in a row. Bare Premium Plus Ultra paint and primer in one. So, those stripes on the living room wall? Covered. Kitchen's burgundy walls need a lighter shade? Covered in about half the time, leaving you with years of beautiful true color. Thanks to the only interior paint that's rated #1, Bare Premium Plus Ultra. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Paint rated by leading consumer studies. See store for details.
Folks, this is Jake Feinberg. One of the first things I wanted to do when I moved to Tucson was find authentic Chinese cuisine. After a tip from the Chinese Student Association, I headed over to Badar Chinese Restaurant. Well, it's been 7 years, and I have never looked back. Located at 7321 East Broadway Boulevard, Badar has been a family-run operation since 1992. The award-winning chef produces succulent dishes from sizzling ginger chicken to salt and pepper shrimp. The thing that separates Badar from the rest is that the chef procures ancient oriental dishes with the exotic island flair of Taiwan. Most importantly, there are no gimmicks or razzle-dazzle at Badar. You won't find any flat-screen TVs or karaoke machines. Badar is a place to go enjoy good food and spend time with your family. It exudes peace and tranquility after a long week of work. So come down and check out Badar Chinese Restaurant. Hong Hao Chu. It's that good. When Coffee Times first opened, many wondered how this standalone coffee hut could survive among the beasts of Java lore. But some 10 years later, the answer is a resounding yes. Located at 3401 East Speedway Boulevard, Coffee Times specializes in many different drinks from mocha fraps to lattes to my personal favorite, the Ice Power Coffee. The best part about Coffee Times is their convenient two-way drive-thru, lunch menu, and supreme service. Not to mention their weekly special. So next time you're in the area, head over to Coffee Times on Speedway between Alvernon and Country Club. It will definitely kickstart your day. Folks, this is Jake Feinberg. Being a father, I know there is nothing more important than your child's health. And nobody is more dedicated to children's health in Southern Arizona than Dwayne Dyson. Dr. Dyson is Tucson's finest pediatrician and has devoted much of his professional career to improving the lives of children. Located at 4530 East Camp Fort Lowell, Dr. Dyson's resume speaks for itself. After doing his undergraduate work at Cal Berkeley, his schooling took him to Morehouse School of Medicine, where he mentored young adolescents about the need for pediatric physicians in Atlanta, and worked extensively with infants at the Texas Children's Hospital. The special thing about Dr. Dyson is that while his in-house care is exceptional, he also prepares families about what to expect once they leave the office. Dr. Dyson provides comprehensive and honest analysis for all of his patients. Dr. Dyson and his family live and work in Tucson because he knows how vibrant and diverse the community is. He is committed to procuring a robust family health center that can instill trust and alleviate the concerns of parents. Like I said, his resume speaks for itself. For more information, check out DysonPediatrics.com. Folks, this is Jake Feinberg. Every Friday night I get takeout from Bai Tong Restaurant, which serves Tucson's most authentic Thai cuisine. Pad Thais, fresh vegetables, and spicy Penang curry are my personal favorites, but every meal is sumptuous and cooked to order. Located at 4853 East Speedway Boulevard, Bai Tong serves compelling and affordable lunch specials as well as a full dinner menu. Bai Tong has ingratiated itself with the community by providing a peaceful environment to enjoy a meal with friends and family. Open weekdays for lunch 11 to 3, 5 to 9:30 for dinner Sunday to Thursday, until 10 on Friday and Saturday. So come down to Bai Tong Restaurant at 4853 East Speedway Boulevard to experience a taste of Thailand. Welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show, everybody. We're joined here by the skipper, Henry Franklin. He's based out of Southern California, still doing his thing. And that was an album, that was a song off an album he did on the Black Jazz label called Plastic Creek Stomp. And Henry, it's so great to have you on the program, my friend. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I haven't heard that tune in a long time. We haven't played that in years. It's a pretty good tune. We got to bring that out and start playing it again.
I think you should. I think there's just all your stuff, all your compositions are tremendous. But so let's go back, set the scene again for this Song of Songs, because like I said, you were going to get into that.
Oh yeah. So Woody came into town and we talked about it, and he wanted Sunship. He'd heard about Sunship, so he said, "Okay, I gotta have Sunship." I said, "Well, no problem. I'll give him a call." So I called him, and I didn't get any answer. So I didn't know if Sunship was in town or out of town. So Woody decided to try another drummer. So we had a little rehearsal at the studio, and I won't mention the drummer's name.
No.
After the rehearsal was over, Woody said, "Okay, this isn't what I'm looking for." So I called Sunship the next day, or that same night later on, see if he could see if I could get in touch with him. So no answer again. So we had another rehearsal, and I had another drummer there, and then Woody wasn't happy with him either. So finally, the second night, I got Sunship. He'd been meditating, so he didn't come to the phone. So
that's fitting. That's so fitting, though.
Yeah, he told us he'd been meditating. So the third day, he said, "Sure, I'll make the record date." So we went to Contemporary Records, and we were there. Me and Woody and George Cables and the rest of the guys, Manny Boyd and Ramon Morris. And we're setting up, waiting for Sunship. Sunship gets there, I guess, about a half hour late. But he comes walking in. He comes walking in with some boots up to his knees.
Mm-hmm.
He had a cape on, and he had the mask, and he had a hat like a Robin Hood hat.
Yeah, I've been searching for the Masked Marvel or something like that. Yeah.
And his drums, he's got his drums. His drums are painted multicolor, and in the bass drum, he's got a skull and crossbones with the fluorescent light. So Woody saw this. He almost freaked out. He said, "Man."
He's like, "I've been waiting 3 days for this."
Yeah. Oh man, did he go off? And then until Sunship started playing, and that was it. It was match made in heaven.
Well, the whole rhythm section was out of control on that album, and that's another one where I think when I first was getting into jazz, there's no way I would have been able to get my head around it. But now when I listen to it, you go from these, I don't know what you would call it, spiritual jazz, the Goat and the Archer, even the names have these almost folkloric sort of, ideas to them. And Woody's playing and you're doing your thing and Woodrow's doing his thing, George, everybody's just, yet it all makes sense. And to me, it was just such a beautiful album, and that whole time period speaks just to that.
Yes, it does. And Woody was quite a genius. Woody Shaw was just an unbelievable musician. First of all, and he was a genius. I mean, and if he would hear something, he'd just sit down and just rearrange the whole thing. He might change his mind and just sit down and write it and rewrite it. He came to the session with no music at all. It was all in his head.
Yeah, that's pure genius, right? You can just hear something, rearrange it, and go back and do it yourself.
Yeah, it was all in his head.
I wanted to ask you, this is really the crux of your early career as a leader. I wanted to ask you, I was having a conversation with Calvin Keyes a couple weeks back, and he mentioned that Gene Russell, who started the Black Jazz label in Southern California, I was curious. I just wanted to ask you, did you meet Gene at Larry Gale's Coffee House in the after-hours jam sessions?
No. I knew Gene way before then.
So talk about that, please.
Yeah, before he was a producer, he was a piano player.
Right.
And
a good one.
A good one, yeah. So we've been playing around town. Gene had a trio, so we played for years and years with his trio around, So I had known Gene for a while.
And then what was the impetus? What was his reasoning behind starting Black Jazz?
Well, Black Jazz was owned by Ovation Records, Dick Shorey in Chicago. And I don't know how it happened, but I guess Dick wanted to extend his music line and form another company. I don't know what kind of deal they had together, or what happened, how it came about. But next thing you know, Gene's got a label, Black Jazz Records.
And how did he decide, or was it just a natural evolution? How did he decide who were going to be his leaders? Because quite frankly, the guys that, whether it was Calvin or yourself or Doug or Gene Carn, you guys had been you had collaborated with many people, but you hadn't necessarily been leaders on albums before.
Well, right, that's true, because we never had the opportunity, we never had the chance, and that's what Gene was about. Gene was about getting guys who had bands and who were together and couldn't or didn't get contracts with the big labels. In those days, there were only few big jazz labels. There was Capitol, Columbia, I guess, and Blue Note, and there weren't many small labels like they have now.
Yeah, you had like Milestone and Contemporary, Prestige. Those were big, but the Black Jazz was different in the sense that I believe, in my opinion, looking back on it as somebody who wasn't even born during that time, but looking back on it, there was a sociological component to it. The idea of being black and having and standing up for who you were as a culture and as a race.
Well, yeah. There were no white guys on the Black Jazz label. I think there was too. Steve Clover, he was on Gene's first trio CD album.
What instrument did he play? I'm not familiar with him.
He was a drummer.
But he was about the only white guy, though.
He was the only white guy, come to think of it. And we'd played as a trio, around town for a long time. So, quite naturally, Gene would call him for the record date. But that's what it was making a statement also, that because a lot of black artists were not getting signed to these big companies unless they were already established stars in the jazz world. So Gene was looking for people that had the talent, he thought, that didn't get a break or didn't get a chance yet to record with these other labels. So that's what he was there for, is to give them a shot.
Yeah, I know I could relate to him because when I was growing up, I was a big baseball fan, and my teams, my favorite teams, were the ones that were always 50 and 110 at the end of the year. Yeah. They were obviously not great teams, but they also had guys that were unheralded and they were good. They were just happened to be on not so great teams. Rooting whether you want to call them the underdog or the under-recognized, I love the mentality of bringing those people to the surface, and that's really the reason I'm talking to you. Why I'm talking to you, Skip, because I want people to understand, what a huge role you played in that time period. But you did two albums, The Skipper and The Skipper at Home. And the first album, you are on the front with a top hat and you're sort of looking kind of in an angular way at the photog, and you have a big beard, and I'm trying to figure out what's going through your mind at that. What is that? Because you have a mysterious look in your face on that one.
Well, actually, that picture was taken by a photographer friend of mine, and he won an award for that.
Wow.
He won an award for that picture. So and it just happened that we were doing my album close to around that same time, and I said, "Well, man, I sure love that picture. Let's put it on there."
Well, it's very compelling. I mean, it's hard to tell whether you're, you have sort of that look in your eye, like I know more than you do.
Right, and you don't know if I'm mad or if
I couldn't tell it. I'm like, I know you're a full of love, I'm like, but he doesn't necessarily look completely loving in that picture,
Yeah.
And I just feel like, especially with, like you talked about, big companies, Columbia, whoever the big funders were, I mean, that would, to me, kind of almost turn off the establishment crowd. Something, and to me, if I was looking at that, like Gene Russell, I'd say that's exactly what I want.
And that's exactly what Gene said.
Unbelievable.
That's just what he said. We all agreed on that one right away.
Got an email here coming in from Mitch in Boston, and this takes us a little bit farther ahead in your career. He says, "Dear Skipper, what stands out in your mind and memory about working with the late, great Freddie Hubbard in general, and in particular the tour that resulted in the album Gleam?" Although, Skip, you call it Mr. Gleam, he's saying Gleam. What was special about Hubbard as a leader and a musician?
Wow, so many things. That first of all, that album was done in Tokyo.
Right.
In '75, we were on a 17-city tour, and that was, I think, around the end of the tour. So the band had been together for over a year. So the band was very, very tight. And
can we just go through the band too? Buck Clark was on percussion.
Buck Clark was on percussion. Carl
Randall
was on drums. Carl Randall was on saxophone.
Right.
George Cables and myself.
Yeah, Carl Burnett on skins. That's right. Go ahead.
Right. Freddie was so phenomenal. You talk about genius. He was another genius. I guess you could say Freddie would be unpredictable. That's certainly one of his qualities.
Yeah, I mean, just on stage.
Unpredictable. On, off stage, it doesn't matter. Freddie's unpredictable. One thing you can predict, that he was probably going to be late.
How late?
Oh, it depends.
Yeah.
Could be 10 minutes late, could be a half hour late. Freddie was not a man that was bound by time. He, like I say, was a musical genius. And when Freddie was on, he's, of course, the greatest trumpet player that ever lived, in my estimation. And Freddie could be so captivating with his personality, man. I mean, you can sit back and listen to Freddie talk for hours. I mean, he just,
I just wanted to interject because I know exactly what you're talking about, in the sense that I've heard him on live shows talking to the audience. He'll say stuff like, "You think this is good? You come back tomorrow." Is the idea that we could always do better.
Oh yeah.
But do it in a way that was like egging on the audience, but in a playful fashion.
Yeah. He loved to intermingle with the audience, and every night was different being with Freddie, because sometimes he didn't feel like talking, and he sure wouldn't talk at all. He'd just play. Sometimes, what would you say? Freddie had maybe two personalities, I guess.
Almost a split personality.
Yeah.
Did you? I mean, at what point did was there ever a time with you were on a 17-city tour in Japan, all in Japan, or in Asia too?
No, just Japan.
The whoever was producing that album, who mixed it, it's explosive, and actually you're on Fender bass on that.
Yeah, Freddie had me on that whole tour playing electric bass.
Was that something that he had to explain why he wanted you to do that, or were you totally up for that as well?
Well, at the time, I kind of got used to it. It was a challenge for me. He did it for a couple of reasons, I think. Miles had an electric bass player, so Miles was making a sack full of money. So I guess Freddie listened to Columbia. He was on Columbia at that time, too, so I guess he listened to those guys. They say they wanted more commercial-type music, as you can tell on his albums. At that time period, he was doing some cover pop tunes and all that kind of stuff.
Midnight at the Oasis and things like that,
yeah, exactly. So I think I know the electric bass was more suitable for stuff like that, but Freddie just could not make that change, you know. He couldn't do like Miles. He couldn't do that change. Freddie would just have to be a bebopper the rest of his life, and that's why he was Freddie Hubbard.
Do you think he felt that he wanted to make a change? He wanted to be like Miles, or he just?
No, he wanted the money.
He wanted the money.
He wanted the money. No, he didn't want to be like Miles. Freddie, like I say, was the greatest trumpet player that ever lived.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, on the other hand, he wanted money too. And of course, he sees Miles making all this money, and all these other guys making all this money, and this. What's his name? Chuck Mangione and these guys making all this money. So, he deserved it too. He thought, because since he's just as good as them on the trumpet as being a trumpet player.
What did you, just going back to the Fender bass, I had a conversation with a buddy of yours, John Hurd, last week, and I said, John, have you ever played electric bass? And he was just like, never. He's like, I am still trying to figure out the upright.
There you go.
And I think that you probably echo those sentiments, but in fact, I mean, your electric. I mean, I lost this. I'll tell the audience right now. I lost the CD. I have one of the live shows from Mr. Gleam, I guess, and it's just you're just dropping bombs all over the place on that album. It's almost like it might have been a difficult transition, but it certainly doesn't show up on the music.
Well, I tried to look at the Fender bass like an upright. Which is the wrong thing to do, I'm pretty sure. You're supposed to look at the electric bass like an electric bass because it is a different instrument. But me being an upright player, I just had to look at it as an upright bass, and that's the way I tried to play it.
Could you just, for the audience, as best you could, articulate how the Fender bass is different from the upright? And how you had to tweak yourself on that?
Well, they're two different instruments. The upright is you get the wood sound, and the sound of the wood, and the feel. You get excuse me. You get the when you pull the strings, you get a beautiful note that comes out that's all wood. When you play an electric bass, you get electricity.
You're plugged in.
Yeah. Bass, an upright bass, you can do different things to it to make it to the tone. You give it a tone. You can use vibrato. You can stuff like that. It's very personalized. When you get to play an electric bass, it's an electric bass.
Question for you, kind of going back in time to your early years. I loved doing research and hearing about your dad as the big band leader, and there were always guys in the house, and it was it just seemed like it was such a great atmosphere. But I was curious as to how much did your mom have to cook every night in order to feed all those guys?
Oh no, she sent them home by dinner time.
They went back to their own wives.
Yeah, they went back home. Now they may come back later. But he had a room out in the back for them. He had a little recording studio out in the back house. It was a back house he made, so they might hang out there all night, But dinner time they had to go home.
Who were some of the guys that you as being such a young boy, so impressionable, but some of the guys that were in there that you sort of just idolized and looked up to at that time?
Oh, well, I idolized all the guys in his circle, in his band, because they were all, professional musicians, and I'm this kid, just amazed by what they could do. I don't even know if they were the greatest musicians in the world. They were all, they weren't like beboppers or anything. They read music and everything they did, but it just knocked me out,
And your dad was a presence in your life. He was there for you and kind of instilled values in you.
Oh yeah, both of them, Mom and Dad.
What were the things that they instilled in you that were most important to you?
Musically?
No, just as a human being.
Oh, well, I guess the main thing they were saying was just be fair. Be fair about everything you do. Treat other people like you like to be treated. Be fair. The money, do not respect money as a god. Stuff like that, just things that parents tell the kids, that they're concerned about.
Yeah, I feel like in some ways, and this is a whole other conversation, that, especially in the black community now, that fathers mainly are not present in their kids' lives.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing for me. And I think it's one reason that some of the music that's being made now is less thoughtful and less communicative, and that might be an overgeneralization, but I'm glad you did have good role models. And Henry, we're talking with bassist Henry Franklin. He's got a steady gig at the Mission Inn in Riverside, California, and
Well, it's not steady. We've been there 12 years, but there's no such thing as a steady gig.
No such thing as a steady gig. But Henry, we're going to be wrapping things up, but I wanted to tell you, I hope we can do this again real soon and talk about the rest of your career and the stuff that you're doing now, because
sure,
I think it's equally as important. And it was just such a treat to have you on today, man.
Oh, Jake, thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it, man. And time flew by, didn't it?
We'll be doing it again. We'll be together again, my friend.
Sounds great, man. Thank you, and thank all your audience for me.
All right, now. This is the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll see you next week.
Let's do it.
This is Tucson's Jolt.
It's strange and wonderful.
You have a firm grasp of the obvious.
KJLL, South Tucson.